When I first met Emily Turner, she was already married. She had a golden band on her finger and a husband who everyone in our small town seemed to respect. I never intended for anything to happen between us, not even friendship. But life has a strange way of weaving connections that sometimes go against the rules we try to live by. It all started at the community center, where I volunteered to coach kids in basketball. Emily was there with her daughter, Chloe, who had just joined the junior team. I remember watching her walk in, her warm smile, the way she encouraged Chloe, and the kindness she extended to the other kids. She wasn't flashy or trying to stand out, but there was something about her that drew me in. When she introduced herself as Chloe's mom, I noticed a faint sadness in her eyes, even though her smile seemed genuine. Over time, I got to know Chloe better, and naturally, Emily and I started talking more. At first, it was just about practice schedules, upcoming games, and small things like snacks or kids. But the more we talked, the more I realized how intelligent and thoughtful she was. She had a sharp sense of humor, and a way of making everyone around her feel comfortable. Her husband, Mark, didn't come to the games often. He was a businessman, always busy, traveling, or tied up with work calls. When he did show up, I noticed how Emily seemed to shrink back, as though she didn't want to step on any toes. It was subtle, but I could see how his presence dimmed her light. She still smiled, still played the part of the supportive wife, but her laughter wasn't the same when he was around. One evening after practice, Emily stayed behind while Chloe played with the other kids. We sat on the bleachers, talking about life. She opened up about how hard it was raising Chloe mostly on her own while Mark was away so often. Sometimes, she said softly, I feel like I'm married, but I'm alone at the same time. She looked at me then, her eyes searching mine, as if testing whether it was safe to say those words aloud. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to comfort her, but I also knew the line between us had to remain clear. She had a family, and I wasn't about to be the reason it broke apart. So I just listened, and in that silence, something unspoken passed between us. Weeks turned into months, and Emily became a part of my daily life in ways I hadn't expected. We started exchanging texts about Chloe's schoolwork, then about books, then about life. She told me about her dreams, how she once wanted to be an artist, how she used to paint before responsibilities swallowed her time. I told her about my struggles too, about losing my father young, and how I'd thrown myself into coaching, because it gave me a sense of purpose. The connection deepened, but I fought against it. Every time I caught myself looking at her a little too long, I reminded myself of the ring on her finger. But Emily, she noticed. One night, after a long practice, she asked if I could walk her to her car. It was late. The parking lot was nearly empty. When we reached her car, she lingered, fiddling with her keys. Do you ever feel like you meet someone you weren't supposed to? She asked quietly. I didn't answer right away. My chest tightened because I knew what she meant. Finally, I said, yeah, but that doesn't mean we get to act on it. She nodded, but her eyes glistened with unshed tears. She whispered, I know, but sometimes my heart doesn't listen. That night, I lay awake thinking about her words. I told myself I couldn't let this happen. She had a daughter who adored her, a family that still looked intact from the outside. I wasn't going to be the man who took that away. But the more I tried to distance myself, the more life pulled us together. One Saturday, the community center organized a fair. Chloe won a prize, and Emily rushed over, laughing and hugging her daughter. When she turned to me with that radiant smile, it felt like the world stopped. Later, when most people had left, she found me near the basketball court. I haven't laughed like that in years, she admitted. Her voice cracked as she added, and it scares me, because it's you who makes me feel this way. Her honesty shook me. I wanted to tell her to stop, to remind her of the vows she made, the family she had. But instead, I whispered, you make me feel the same. For the first time, she reached for my hand, and I didn't pull away. From then on, everything became more complicated. We never crossed a physical line, but emotionally, we were in deep. Every glance, every conversation carried weight. We shared parts of ourselves that we didn't share with anyone else. And though I knew it was wrong, I couldn't stop my heart from choosing her. The breaking point came one rainy evening. Emily called me, her voice trembling. She and Mark had argued, and she confessed that she felt invisible in her own marriage. "I can't keep pretending anymore," she cried. "The truth is, my heart isn't with him. It's with you." I sat in silence, torn apart. Part of me wanted to tell her to leave him, to choose happiness, to choose us. But another part knew the weight of such a decision, especially with Chloe involved. I told her, "Emily, whatever you decide, I'll support you. But make sure it's for you, not just for us." In the weeks that followed, Emily started seeing a counselor. She and Mark tried to work through their issues, but she realized a marriage had been broken long before I came into the picture. It wasn't about me. It was about her finally admitting she deserved more than being an afterthought. Eventually, Emily made the hardest choice of her life. She filed for separation, not because of me, but because she wanted to reclaim her own happiness. It wasn't easy. There were tears, sleepless nights, and the guilt of breaking apart something she had worked so hard to hold together. But through it all, she found her strength again. Months later, after the dust had settled, Emily and I met at a quiet cafe. She looked different, lighter, freer. She smiled at me, this time without hesitation or guilt. "I chose myself," she said, "and my heart still chooses you." I reached across the table, taking her hand in mine, and for the first time, there were no barriers between us. Our story hadn't been simple, and it hadn't followed the rules. But sometimes life isn't about the rules. It's about following the truth of your heart, even when it's messy and complicated. Emily was married when I met her, but her heart chose me, and in the end, she chose herself too.